Welcome to Screen Rant. I'm Matt Roembke, and this is a breakdown of a dozen cameos, Easter eggs, and the ending explained for James Gunn's Superman. Let's get into it. First, let's quickly run through what happened here. In year 3 as Superman, Clark Kent is still discovering what it means to be Earth's protector in a world of metahumans and monsters. Meanwhile, Lex Luthor has had enough, and he's determined to take Superman down. What follows is a back and forth through geopolitical conflict, leading to a final showdown between hero and villain, brain and brawn, man and monster. It's a classic Superman vs. Lex story, a comic book brought to life. Now, for the fun part, let's get into some cameos and Easter eggs. The biggest source of the Leo meme in this movie is through the cameos because this is a James Gunn movie and he always gets his friends involved. And now that he's the boss at DC Studios, there's no telling how many familiar faces we are going to see over the years. We start right off the bat with a big name in the very first scene. The scene featured in the Superman teaser with Krypto dragging Clark home leads us to the Fortress of Solitude, where he's greeted and attended to by his Superman robots. The robots are playing a message from Kal-El's parents they sent to Earth along with him, and who else but Bradley Cooper is playing Jor-El. He joins the iconic list of Marlon Brando and Russell Crowe as actors to bring Superman's father to the big screen. And this is not a quick hit cameo. This message becomes an essential plot point throughout the movie that turns everything on its head. So Cooper gets his share of screen time despite having just a few lines. Following the Marvel tree here, Cooper is not the only Guardian of the Galaxy to make an appearance in Superman. Gunn is famous for giving voiceover roles to his former cast members. Here, Michael Rooker and Pom Klementieff both lend their voices to the Superman robot crew. They both also appeared in Gunn's first DC entry with the Suicide Squad in 2021. Rooker as Savant and Klementieff as a cameo in a nightclub. Another voiceover part was given to the Superman legend Michael Rosenbaum as one of Lex Luthor's Raptor guards. Rosenbaum probably most famous for playing Lex Luthor in 10 glorious seasons of Smallville. Nicholas Hoult even came on his podcast for advice on playing the iconic Superman villain, and after seeing this thing, it really pays off. Hoult seems to be playing a version of Rosenbaum's Luthor if it were dialed up to 11, stealing a lot of scenes along the way. This is not Rosenbaum's first James Gunn cameo appearance. He also voices the Ravager and OG Guardian Martinex in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and 3. Okay, now we get into the good stuff. You may know Millie Alcock from her breakout role as a young Rhaenyra Targaryen in House of the Dragon Season 1, but in Superman, she is promoted to Kryptonian as she smashes through the wall like the Kool-Aid Man just before the credits roll as Supergirl. Kara Jor-El, the cousin of Superman. For those who don't know, Supergirl is the next film slated for James Gunn's new DC universe, and Alcock is expected to play the title role. Kara shows up to the Fortress of Solitude, and let's call a spade, she's wasted. Clark explains that she's coming back from a red sun planet, which allows Kryptonians to get into their cups a little bit and actually get drunk, which they cannot do here on Earth because of our very boring as hell yellow sun. The answer is probably just alien booze, but if I had to guess, Kara feels like she is either drinking a tequila soda with extra lime or whatever beer you have, strictly depending on whatever bar she's in. Alcock can also be seen wearing her iconic jacket from probably the seminal Supergirl comic Run, Woman of Tomorrow, a book that has Kara doing what we have yet to see Superman do in theaters, go on a space journey. And that's not all. She's taken the dog. That's right, Kara is the owner of Krypto, and Clark was just watching him as a foster situation, so Krypto is getting back-to-back runs in the new DCU as one of the first recurring characters, worthy as worthy can be. Supergirl is currently set to release in theaters June 26th of next year, and is set to feature DC legend Jason Momoa as Lobo. It will be directed by Craig Gillespie, who is most known for I, Tonya and Cruella. Moving along with the cameos, no one who knew anything about James Gunn thought we weren't going to get a quick shot of Sean Gunn, brother of James Gunn. Sean is featured in Guardians as Kraglin and Calendar Man in the Suicide Squad, while also providing mocap for the Weasel. Here, he is the infamous Maxwell Lord, another money mover in the DC universe who you may remember from 2020's Wonder Woman 1984. Played by Pedro Pascal of all people. And that guy's gonna be Reed Richards in 2 weeks. That's how much can change in 5 years. Lord is adjacently mentioned throughout this movie as his company is funding the Justice Gang, represented here by Nathan Fillion's Green Lantern Guy Gardner, Isabella Merced's Hawkgirl, and Eddie Gathie's Mr. Terrific. Sean Gunn, Filoni, and Merced are shown in the trailer for the upcoming Season 2 of Peacemaker, so we can expect a lot more of them. Speaking of Peacemaker, we got a cameo here that was not predicted or scooped anywhere of note. John Cena is back as Chris Smith, the Peacemaker.
His name is John Cena!
Of course, on the news, talking shit about Superman in full costume. This leads us into Season 2 in August, where the DCU will continue on Max or HBO Max or wherever we're calling it nowadays. This shows James Gunn's imprint on the new movie universe he is in charge of. The new era's first 3 projects, Creature Commandos, Superman, and Peacemaker Season 2, all written and directed by James Gunn. And speaking of Creature Commandos, he was in the trailer. If you knew, you knew, but anybody who didn't know, Frank Grillo plays Rick Flag Sr. in this movie. This is awesome for a couple of reasons. Number 1, Rick Flag Sr. is the father of Rick Flag, the leader of the Suicide Squad in 2016 and Gunn's version in 2021, played by Joel Kinnaman. This is especially interesting because he is also set to appear in Peacemaker Season 2 to have words with John Cena as to why he killed his son. Number 2, Rick Flag Sr. is also the leader of the Creature Commandos animated series released on HBO Max earlier this year, also voiced by Frank Grillo. So the idea of the DCU being hyper-connected, animated, live action, streaming, theaters, all one sandbox. The first Easter egg we will cover is one that some speculated to be another cameo. Ultraman, the maxed lackey of Lex Luthor shown in trailers, had his identity revealed at the turn of Acts 2 and 3. It wasn't Henry Cavill or Tom Welling or Bizarro, it was a cloned and droned David Corenswet. Ultraman ends up being a controllable replica of Superman that Lex created using Clark's DNA, which is why he was so easily able to break into the Fortress of Solitude earlier in the movie. The clone has a longer haircut and not a single speaking line, but he does get thrown into a black hole after getting his ass beat though, so he's still very much on the board down the line. Another insider bit that got smiles from the initiated and it passed right by anybody who doesn't know, Perry White does not want to be called Chief. A running gag that stems from OG Superman comics through the Superman TV show and affectionately mentioned and hinted at in Richard Donner's Superman movies of the 70s and 80s. Perry tells Jimmy Olsen, who absolutely crushes this movie by the way, not to call him Chief while navigating that comic-accurate half-smoked cigar the entire movie. One of the very few impact lines Perry has in this film. Fans are certainly hoping for more Wendell Pierce in the future. In one of the funnier exchanges of the movie, Guy Gardner and Lois Lane are discussing who knows they know about Clark Kent being Superman.
They don't know that we know they know we know.
In this back and forth, Guy explains the idea that Clark has Hypno Glasses, and that is the trick to his much debated disguise. The idea is that the glasses obstruct the reality of anybody who looks into them to slightly alter Clark's face and mask his striking resemblance to the Man of Steel. This would solve a lot of problems that people have with Superman and are really passionate about, but in the tone and scope of this movie, it's actually one of the more believable things. Finally, this movie pulls a lot of themes, ideas, and sometimes direct panel-to-screen moments from the acclaimed Superman run, All-Star Superman, written by Grant Morrison. Wacky comic stuff explained through space like the Hypno Goggles or pocket dimensions, kaijus, and intergalactic imps are all hyper-present. This is the big swing of the movie. The last Superman fans got in theaters was as grounded and gritty as he is ever going to be. Here is one of the more fantastical, suspension of belief, comic book brought to life movies you will see, and easily the most whiz-bang Superman has ever been on the big screen, all heavily influenced by All-Star Superman. So, this thing wraps up pretty straightforward. It's weirdly refreshing to see one of these end on a happy note. After Clark and Lex fist fight and monologue fight to debate the battle between man and God, Lex is put in handcuffs and taken to Belle Reve. Clark and Lois make up and share that trailer moment, spinning in the air, and Superman returns to his fortress, but instead of playing that Bradley Cooper clip to keep him calm, there's now home videos of him and Ma and Pa Kent in Smallville. The final scene before credits is that Millie Alcock Supergirl scene we already talked about, but gives her a quick intro before taking on her own movie. We get 2 non-consequential stingers. The mid-credit is a very quick shot of Superman and Krypto on the moon, looking over Earth, ripped straight from the All-Star Superman comic. In the post-credit scene is Mr. Terrific and Superman looking over the damage from the final fight, getting into a little quip-off about the results. And that's it. Directed by James Gunn, Superman. So, what did you think? What am I missing? I'm sure there are some license plates and background Easter eggs we can all find on a second viewing. Let me know in the comments. And if you learned anything here today, hit like and subscribe. Until next time, I'll see you then.